Hi, I'm Christopher, and welcome to this episode, the fourth episode of Christopher, Barons of Gaming. On this show, we're going to be talking about the games of this year. So basically, I've picked a few of the games that I thought were really good or not so good, and we're going to talk about those. So let's go. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, GTA 5 was an absolutely sensational game as far as I'm concerned. Those who haven't played it, obviously children, this is not for you, but it was such a good game having three protagonists. Now, the reason why they had three protagonists was the fact that one of them is a little bit over the top. They really couldn't have a game which did that kind of violence and craziness as the main character, because it would have been a little bit over the top. But it was such a good game, and I have played this through now on the Xbox and the PlayStation, and I'm playing it through for a second time on the PlayStation at the moment, and I just absolutely love it. There is so much you can do. There's so much customization, and there's just the story. The story is just really fantastic, and everything about this game is brilliant. And I would give it a 10 out of 10 because it is just so involved, it's so exciting and extremely well done. The next game I'm going to talk about is one which I thought would be extremely good, but unfortunately I got it home, got it on PC, and it really just didn't stand up to what it should have. And that is Call of Duty Ghosts. Now, Call of Duty Ghosts, I was really looking forward to this game. I thought, wow, it'd be so good. But number one, it's far too Americanized. Number two, the story is dreadful, absolutely atrocious. The gameplay is the same as it's always been, and there's really not much more to it than that. And it's not worth the amount that one pays for it. It really isn't. It's just a dreadful, dreadful game. And unfortunately, as people who've listened to John and my end of year podcast, we discussed this and we talked about the fact that they need to stop just getting one game out per year and pushing and pushing and pushing. This game obviously needed more development. It needed a different storyline because the storylines are getting boring. And really, since Black Ops number 1, the stories have just started to go down. And that's so unfortunate because it used to be such a good franchise. And these days, it's just not cutting it. Now, the next game I'm going to talk about is Saints Row 4. Now, this was brilliant as far as I'm concerned. Now, I got this game on PC, and it's The Matrix. That's the way you have to look at it. A lot of people went, oh, it's just exactly the same as an expansion of number 3. I don't think it is. I think all the physics are different, and it is The Matrix. It has continual jokes to The Matrix, and it really is just such fun. And I played it through originally for review using cheats because I wanted to get through it as quickly as possible, and then realised it would actually be better to do it without it, and I actually got further and more. It was more easy to do it without cheats. And overall, it's just a fantastic game, and especially the fact that your character can fly, and especially the fact that you can choose Nolan North as a character who basically plays himself. And I think the sense of humour is just brilliant, and it's really good to see a game with such a good sense of humour. The next game I'm going to talk about was one of the very first R-rated games. Now, it's an old franchise. They've only made 3 in the franchise, but that's Army of Two, The Devil's Cartel. Now, I loved Army of Two, the original one. It was such an extremely good game. The fact that you could go between the two characters and you could build up your character was just absolutely brilliant. The only problem was the second one was as boring as anything, and I got about 10 minutes into it and went, I don't want anything more to do with this. So I just gave up. Whereas the third one was really good fun. It was a really good game. You play a new character, and although the storyline was quite obvious, I did find that it was, overall really not too bad of a story. And for an R-rated game, you've got to try those out if you're over 18, and really wasn't too bad. Now, the next game is Rise, Son of Rome. Now, this is the first game I'm talking about, other than Call of Duty, on the new console. So this is for Xbox One. Now, I had huge anticipation for this game. I was really looking forward to it. I thought it would be just absolutely fantastic. But I put it on, and the graphics look brilliant, and that's great. The story idea is not too bad, but the story idea is not too bad. But I did find that the character building was just dreadful. So each level of character was exactly the same model. So if you have a heavy character and a regular character, all the heavies have exactly the same face, exactly the same costume, exactly the same cuts, exactly the same bruises, and so then the regular people are all exactly the same. It's like there's basically they're clones of each other. And I found that on a next-gen console, they should all be different. I mean, really, if Assassin's Creed all those years ago could have different faces for every single person, then, well, so can a modern day game. And unfortunately, my score for this game would be about 3 out of 10, because I found that it got boring very, very, very quickly. And really, the anticipation for this game was just massive. I really wanted to play it, but it just doesn't do it for me, unfortunately. The next game is one of the best games that of 2013, which is BioShock Infinite. This game was incredible. Now, I must admit that I really didn't get in too much to the original 2 BioShocks, but this one was just a beautiful story. It was such a good story, and it was such an emotional ride. It hit all the emotions where it was supposed to. It was exciting. It was full of action. It was full of sadness. It was full of mysteries and exciting things. And the ending, spoiler alert, was absolutely devastating. I mean, you need a box of tissues when you play the ending of that game. And it really was absolutely sensational. The next one is one which is again on the new consoles, and I've played it through on PlayStation 3, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4, and that is Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Now, Assassin's Creed Black Flag is a really, really comprehensive, really, really good game, and it is far best on PlayStation 4. On Xbox One, there are technical difficulties that I've come across which are a little bit frustrating, but on PlayStation 4, it's absolutely sensational. The storyline is very good. The only issue I have with it is it really shouldn't have been Assassin's Creed. It should have been just pirates or some other thing which has nothing to do with Assassin's Creed. It should have been just some random pirate game, because it didn't need to have assassins in there at all. But they were there, and being able to sail a ship was really, really good. And the other thing that made it really good as well was that you collect sea shanties. And it's sort of like, in the way that Grand Theft Auto has a radio, in Assassin's Creed 4, your crew sing sea shanties. And that's just really great. It's a fantastic add-on for a game, and it really made me happy and filled me with nostalgia from when I was a child and singing sea shanty songs. So that was really good. Now, the next game that really was a good one for this year, and I played it through on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC, and I've pre-ordered it on PlayStation 4 as well, is Tomb Raider. Now, this Tomb Raider anyway, is totally different from any of the other Tomb Raiders that have happened before. Instead of Lara Croft being this big, strong fighter, she's vulnerable, and it's her first time out, and you really get to feel her emotion. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that she has a lot of emotion, so that you have a lot of emotion with it, but she certainly does have a lot of emotion, and that really makes the game absolutely fantastic. And this was another 10 out of 10 for me. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and as I said, I've played it through again and again. I got 100% on collecting everything on the PlayStation 3, and this is a must-play for absolutely everyone, and it really is just sensational. The next game is Killzone Shadowfall. Now, Killzone Shadowfall is not too bad. The graphics are beautiful. The only issue is that unlike games like Battlefield, things don't really get destroyed. They don't fall down and break. And obviously, these two games, as well as Call of Duty, are the first-person shooter games of the next generation, and it really, for me, it was a really good game, but I still think the first game is actually the best. I had more fun with Killzone number 1 and being able to choose between 4 different characters and 4 different classes than I have done with this game, which is a bit unfortunate, but it still does look so good, and sometimes you find yourself just standing there looking at where you are and looking at all the vista around, and it's just absolutely incredible. The next game I'd like to talk about is Dead Rising 3. Now, I've played this for a little while, and it's on Xbox One. I know a lot of people love Dead Rising. I really like Dead Rising 2. Zombie slashers are always good fun. The problem I have with it, though, is that the people are extremely hard to kill, and it's over the top. I find that you have an assault rifle and you shoot the person 50 times and they lose 1 of their 10 blocks of health, and they hit you once and you lose all your health straight away anyway. And I find that really frustrating, because it's just, I find it unreal, and the zombie side of it is so good, but I wish they'd take away the human enemies, because for me it really pulls out the realism of the game. Although, look, it really isn't a too bad game. You can see lots and lots of movement, lots and lots of zombies all in the one place, although the only issue I have is that the graphics aren't as good as they could have been. But that's what happens. Then, of course, The Last of Us. Now, if anyone's listened to the podcast, this was the Game of the Year, as well as Good Games Game of the Year as well. One of the best games I have ever played. It is the most emotional game I have ever played. If you haven't played it, box of tissues. You have to be an adult because it is rated R. And it is just the most remarkable game. It's a beautiful story, and unlike Tomb Raider, where you just feel their emotion, you feel emotion as well, and it's just incredible. And this year is the year for emotion. I have really found that there are so many games that have been using emotion, and it's brilliant to see, because it's really cutting a fine line between movies and games, and that's what I like to see, because games are a form of entertainment like that. And in fact, when it comes to it, if you pay $100 for a game and you get 300 hours of enjoyment out of it, think about that compared to a movie where you pay, let's say, $25 to see a movie once, and you might have an hour and a half of enjoyment. That's the difference, and it's so good to see. And I really take my hat off to game developers for introducing us to titles that do things like this. that's probably about enough from me for the moment. But to all the viewers, thank you so much for your support this year. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed and commented on the podcast, everybody who has commented on Facebook, everybody who's commented on email. Thank you so much indeed. It is so appreciated. You have a very good Christmas and a happy New Year. And just remember, keep on gaming.